I swear, the day that envelope showed up on my porch, the air got about 10 degrees quieter, like the neighborhood itself was holding its beige-colored breath, and there I stood in my driveway, holding that pristine linen blend envelope like it was a bomb someone wrapped in Martha Stewart stationery, and I just whispered to my basset hound, "Buddy, they finally did it." Buster tilted his head in that slow, judgmental way only a basset can, all ears drooping and eyes like he's personally disappointed in me for unfolding yet another suburban crisis right before his nap, and I'm rubbing the envelope between my fingers like a detective in a crime drama. Except we're not solving a murder. No, this was worse. This was HOA business. I ripped it open with the same energy a man has after his fourth cup of coffee and a lifetime of petty grudges. And right there, crisp as a church program and twice as self-important, it hits me. The Architectural Review Committee has deemed your fence non-compliant. And not just any fence. My fence, the chain-link relic that came with the house. The fence that never once hurt anybody except maybe the occasional dandelion that brushed it too hard on a windy day. And suddenly I'm standing there like a man who just heard someone insult his grandma's pot roast, slowly rereading the part about visual harmony and approved aesthetics and 30 days to comply. And I just look at Buster and say, "They want to aesthetically cleanse me." And he just sighs, loudly. Like even he can't believe we live in a world where fences have morality now. Then comes the kicker. Attached to the back in a tiny plastic bag, 3 swatches of what I can only describe as colors invented by people who fear happiness. Premium beige, elegant greige, timeless taupe, shades so lifeless they could make a sunset cry. And I knew, right then, who did it. Brenda. 3 doors down. You ever meet someone who laminates everything? That's Brenda. She laminates grocery lists. She laminates motivational quotes about joy while actively policing the joy out of everyone within a 3-block radius. Her hair doesn't move in the wind. I'm convinced it's bulletproof by design. If she ever ran for office, her campaign slogan would just be, "Hope is tacky." I storm inside like a man possessed by the spirit of every wrongfully fined suburban dad ever born, slap the letter onto the kitchen table, and my wife, Sarah, doesn't even look up from the bills. She just goes, "What did you do this time?" Like she already knows I'm halfway to becoming a cautionary tale on Nextdoor. The fence, I declare, dramatic as a Shakespeare lead whose kingdom was taken, is an offense to community harmony. And then I hold up the swatches like evidence in court and say, "And this is dust. Not a color. Just dust." Sarah finally lifts her head, pen still stuck in her messy bun like she forgot it there hours ago during the battle of checking account versus electricity bill, and she blinks at me. "Please tell me you didn't antagonize Brenda again." I don't answer with words. I answer by Googling the cost of vinyl fencing and letting my soul leave my body when the quote hits $5,000. $5,000. For a fence that looks like a sad Tupperware container pretending it's architecture. Sarah gives me that look. The one she saves for moments when she knows she married a stubborn man with too much imagination and too little impulse control, and she whispers, "Please just do the normal thing." But it's already too late, because somewhere behind my eyes, a tiny, reckless spark lights up, and it whispers, "Comply, but make it painful." I retreat to my garage, my sanctuary of unfinished projects and questionable life choices, and Buster follows, nails clicking dramatically on the concrete, like he's narrating the downfall of a man who once could have been normal but chose spite instead. It's dusty, messy, and beautiful in there. Half camping gear, tools I bought hoping they'd turn me into a YouTube-level handyman, a failed compost bin, fishing rods, old sports junk, and I sit on an overturned pickle bucket, staring into the chaos like maybe, just maybe, the answer is buried in a pile of things I swore I'd use someday, but never did. I mutter, "What am I supposed to build a fence out of, Buster? Pallets? Doors? Cardboard dreams?" And then I see it. In the corner, covered in cobwebs and forgotten glory. A mountain. A neon, fiberglass mountain. Skis. Snowboards. My whole winter history stacked like a shrine to college-era bravado and wobbling knees. I step toward it in slow motion, like the light from a cheesy heavenly movie scene should be bursting out of the corner. And when that first pair of 90s neon K2S clatters to the floor, it hits me so hard I almost laugh. They didn't ban skis. I'm suddenly breathing like a man discovering a new species of petty justice, dragging boards into the middle of the floor, snow, dust, and nostalgia everywhere. And I whisper, Buster. She gave me a list. A list of forbidden materials. And skis were not on it. Sarah finds me 5 minutes later, covered in spider webs, eyes gleaming like a raccoon who just discovered fireworks, waving a dusty snowboard like a lunatic holding up Excalibur. She just stands there in the doorway, arms crossed, staring at my pile of neon, splintered genius, and says, No, absolutely not. And I grin. It's not prohibited. Gary, it is unhinged. It's creative compliance. And she stares at me, slow blinking, weighing divorce versus the potential comedy of watching this train wreck unfold in real time, then mutters, I didn't marry a man. I married a loophole. I hold up the HOA bylaws thumb drive like Frodo holding the One Ring and whisper, I'm going to weaponize recycling. And Buster, sweet loyal Buster, just flops down, ear inside out, accepting his fate as emotional support dog to a suburban madman. In that moment, something in my soul shifts. The die is cast, the skis are chosen, the war drums quietly start thrumming like distant thunder, and I swear the garage lights flicker as if the gods themselves lean in and whisper, Let the HOA games begin. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I just lay there staring at the ceiling like a man calculating the square footage of vengeance, counting skis instead of sheep, and somewhere around 3:17 a.m., Sarah rolled over, smacked me on the shoulder, and muttered, Stop plotting, I can hear it, before pulling a pillow over her head like she was living with a Bond villain in sweatpants. By sunrise, I was already deep in Facebook Marketplace, typing old skis, broken snowboards, vintage ski gear that no sane person should still own, and suddenly I wasn't just browsing. I was hunting, like some suburban apex predator stalking garage sale listings instead of gazelles on the Serengeti. And people, oh man, people have so much ski junk they're embarrassed to own but too sentimental to throw away. I was getting deals like I was handing out miracle cures. Will you take $40 for the lot? Sir, these skis are from 1986. Exactly. Relics. They deserve dignity. By 9 a.m., I was making pickups like a Facebook Marketplace cryptid, appearing in driveways, handing crumpled bills to confused homeowners, loading skis like trophies into the trunk of my car. One old guy looked at me like he'd accidentally just armed a revolutionary movement and whispered, God help whoever you're doing this to. I smiled. Her name is Brenda. He didn't ask questions. He just nodded, like men do when they recognize the scent of war. And then, the holy grail moment. I'm driving past ski and ride rentals on Maple Street, and I see a kid wheeling a dumpster full of skis to the curb. I slam my brakes harder than I ever have for a yellow light in my life, hop out like a madman on a caffeine bender, and shout, Hey, what are you doing with those? Kid looks at me, AirPod dangling, hair in that floppy Gen Z apocalypse style, and shrugs. Trash, bro. Trash. Perfect. The sound I made wasn't human. It was half goblin, half Christmas morning 8-year-old, and I dove in like I was retrieving the Holy Grail. I swear I could hear dramatic choir music as I pulled out boards like Excalibur, swords from the stone of suburban oppression. By sundown, my garage looked like a snow sports museum curated by someone with no taste, but unlimited chaotic energy. Sarah just stood in the doorway, stared at the Technicolor mountain, then at me, and whispered a single sentence. I should have married the guy who became a lawyer. But she smiled, just barely, and that was fuel enough to keep me going. The next phase was trickier. I needed someone equally fearless, or at least someone who hadn't yet learned to say no. So I started calling fence companies. Contractor 1. Hi, I'd like a quote to install a fence using skis. Click. Contractor 2. You want what? Skis. And snowboards. It's July. Yes. Click. Contractor 3. Sal's Fencing and Odd Jobs. Raspy voice answered, like the man swallowed gravel and chased it with whiskey. What you need? Someone to install posts so I can attach sporting equipment. Silence. Then, you that guy fighting the HOA over in Crestwood? Proudly. Another pause. Kid, I once built a chicken coop out of 3 hot tubs and a trampoline. Time and a half plus beer. I could have cried. You're hired. And that Monday morning, Sal rolled up in a beat-up work truck that looked like it survived 2 marriages and a bar fight, stepped out, lit a cigarette at 7:59 a.m., looked at my rainbow shrine of skis, and just nodded like a man recognizing the face of destiny. "This," he muttered, "is gonna piss somebody off real good." "I know," I breathed. "Isn't it beautiful?" We spent the first hour just setting posts, me handing him skis like sacred artifacts, him grunting approval or shaking his head at particularly cursed ones, and every thunk of his post driver into the earth felt like a drumbeat in the march toward liberation. Then came the moment, Brenda's first sighting. She emerged from her house in athleisure beige, visor angled like she was about to referee a tennis match for souls, walking toward her mailbox, blissfully unaware that her entire worldview was about to collapse like cheap patio furniture in a windstorm. She turns. She sees the neon chaos rising along my property line like a technicolor fortress of middle-aged rebellion. And she stops. Not pauses. Not hesitates. She freezes like someone unplugged her from the HOA hive mind network. Her mail slips from her hand. Silent. Slow motion. A Bed Bath & Beyond coupon drifting like a dying leaf, landing at her feet. I raise my lemonade like I'm welcoming a guest to my art exhibit and call out cheerfully, "Morning, Brenda. Beautiful day for sustainable home improvement." She takes one step toward us, eyes locked on the fence, voice thin like she swallowed a kazoo. "What is this?" Sal doesn't even look up, just drills a bolt into a snowboard with exaggerated purpose, zrericht, like a punctuation mark made of pure disrespect. I smile like peace itself. It's my compliant fence. Per bylaws. Materials not banned. Recycling initiative. Very harmonious. "Harmonious," she squeaks, voice climbing octaves like a panicked flute. This is garbage." "Oh no," I say gently, patting a neon Burton board. "This is history." She spins and storms away so hard her visor almost flies off, and Sal just murmurs, cigarette dangling, "She gonna call the cavalry." "Oh," I whisper, heart pounding with the joy of righteous absurdity, "I hope she does." And then, like fate itself answered, my phone buzzes. Neighborhood text thread exploding. Screenshots. Furious typing bubbles. My name. The word abomination thrown around like confetti at a villain's parade. And right there, in the middle of chaos, Buster waddles out, squints up at the fence, sniffs it once, then pees proudly at the base like he's christening a monument to freedom. I wipe a tear. Because some heroes fight dragons, some scale mountains, and some, like me, stand in a suburban driveway with a dog and a dream and say, "Not today, beige tyranny." And somewhere deep down I knew. This wasn't just a fence. This was an uprising. By the time that neon barricade was halfway across my yard, I could feel the universe tightening a seatbelt, like it knew we were about to hit a pothole made of pure suburban rage, and right on cinematic cue. The next morning, as I'm sipping coffee with the calm dignity of a general surveying his troops, a mail truck slows to a suspicious crawl. And there she is, Brenda, standing at the curb in a beige robe like an angry latte ghost, clutching another linen stock envelope like she's delivering a royal decree from the kingdom of petty. She hands it to the mailman. Poor guy looks like he'd rather swallow his uniform, points at my house, and vanishes back inside like a bureaucratic vampire retreating from daylight. Mailman trudges up, eyes hollow, like he's seen battles. "Certified letter for you again, Gary," he mumbles. I sign, pop it open, and I swear angels didn't sing, but I definitely heard someone somewhere gasp in legalistic horror. Cease and desist. 48 hours to remove the abomination. They didn't even try to hide the insult. It was bolded. Bolded. I snort so hard I almost choke. The abomination, I say, patting a ski like it's a loyal war horse. "Buddy, you hear that? We're in the Bible now." Buster just blinks at me, tail thumping once like, "Yeah man, whatever, just don't forget second breakfast." But the thing about bureaucratic threats? They're only scary until you bring receipts. And I had a contractor named Sal and the righteous fury of every wrongfully cited homeowner in America on my side. I dial him. "Sal, they're calling it unsafe." He laughs, coughs, maybe cracks a beer at 9:14 a.m. "Kid, you could hit that fence with a truck and your truck would apologize." "Lovely. Can you write that down?" He does, in glorious professional letterhead, declaring it solid as a rock, and adding, for flavor, that Brenda's deck leans 2 degrees portside and is a menace to society. I don't mail it. I don't email it. I laminate it, poster size, hang it on my fence facing the street like a medieval proclamation. Somewhere across the road, a curtain snaps shut so aggressively I swear I heard drywall crack. And as if summoned by divine sitcom timing, whoop whoop, a police cruiser rolls up. 2 officers step out. They don't even draw weapons. They just stand there in the heat, staring at a fence made of winter dreams and spite, and I can see the internal struggle, duty versus the urge to laugh. Sir, we got a complaint about an unsafe structure. Officer taps a snowboard. Solid thunk. Second officer whistles low. Damn, that's sturdy and technically artistic, I offer. Brenda rockets out of her house like a missile powered by HOA bylaws, robe flapping, voice shrill enough to peel paint. This is garbage, officers. It endangers children, property values, the sanctity of our community. Officer Johnson takes a deep breath through his nose, the breath of a man who regrets all career decisions that led him here. Ma'am, it's a fence. But skis. He looks at me, looks at the fence, looks at her. Radio crackles, dispatch asking how a ski fence is code violation. He closes his eyes like he wishes he were anywhere else. A DMV line, a dentist chair, jury duty. Ma'am, please stop calling 911 about fences. And just like that, the cavalry leaves. Brenda stands there vibrating like a microwave about to explode, and I, sipping lemonade I did not earn because Sal built everything while I supervised, raise my cup in solemn tribute to every petty rebel who ever lived. 2 days later, bright neon flyers hit every door. Emergency HOA meeting. Mandatory. Topic: fence crisis. Crisis. We made it to crisis level. I'm not saying I was proud, but if there had been theme music, it would have been heroic brass with a dash of kazoo. The clubhouse fills with neighbors like a courtroom full of witnesses ready to testify against a dictator. Folding chairs, stale cookies, passive aggression thick enough to spread like peanut butter. Brenda storms to the podium with the dramatic fury of someone who spent the whole night rehearsing in front of a mirror. Laser pointer. PowerPoint. First slide. Grainy zoomed-in shot of my fence labeled in Comic Sans, The Abomination. I nearly faint from joy. She rants about visual contamination and moral decay and home value jeopardization, like she's pitching a disaster movie starring beige villains and terrified property taxes. Then I stand, slow, holding a spiral-bound, tab-flagged print of the bylaws like a lawyer who passed the bar purely out of spite. Page 84, Clause 8b. I say, calm as a monk who's seen enlightenment in ski form. Materials banned. Chain link, barbed wire, plywood, corrugated metal. No mention of skis. Or snowboards. My materials are compliant. Silence. Then a voice from the back. Ted, normally silent lawn mowing accountant Ted, rises like a phoenix from HOA-induced despair and says, honestly, it's kinda awesome. Gasps. Fainting level shock. Someone drops a cookie plate. Then a woman stands, voice shaking. She made me repaint my shutters because they weren't the right off-white. They were identical. Another voice. She measured my grass with a ruler. And then someone, I kid you not, starts chanting softly. Ski fence, like it's a revolution anthem. Chaos. Voices rising. Arms waving. Years of resentment flooding the room like someone busted open a dam of beige tyranny. Brenda bangs the podium like she's trying to summon the spirit of HOA dictators past, but no one's listening. The spell's broken, power gone, crown slipping. Finally she screams, voice cracking. You will regret this. This neighborhood will descend into chaos. Ted raises his beer in a coffee mug and says, honestly, Brenda, that sounds great. And she flees, red blazer flashing, PowerPoint abandoned, dignity dragging behind her like a sad parade balloon. It's silent for half a beat. Then the room erupts into applause. I don't cry. You cry. Brenda resigns the next morning in a 3-paragraph passive-aggressive email blaming cultural decay and neighborhood moral collapse and the unfortunate influence of certain individuals whose names she will not mention. Her house sells to a couple with 3 Harleys and a passion for revving at sunrise. Basketball hoops sprout like spring dandelions. Someone paints their front door rebellious teal. Christmas lights go up in July. The Facebook group changes its name to Crestwood Chaos Appreciation Society. And my fence? People take photos. Someone hangs vintage ski goggles on it. A ski boot tribute appears. A lone-lost ski pole stands like a peace offering. It becomes a landmark, a shrine to nonsense and freedom. 6 months later, first snow falls, slow and soft, settling on neon boards like powdered sugar on chaos. And Sarah stands beside me, steaming mug in hand, watching flakes land on upturned ski tips glowing in winter light. "It's ridiculous," she whispers. "And honestly, kind of beautiful." I grin into my coffee. "I told you it was harmonious." She nudges me. "Don't get ideas." Too late. My eyes drift toward the garage, toward the dusty pile of old car tires I still haven't thrown away. "I'm just saying." I murmur. "Rubber's not banned either." "No." Buster thumps his tail once, traitorously supportive. And in that quiet snowfall, something like peace settles. Not the kind the HOA wanted. Not beige, not pruned, not laminated. The kind made of color and laughter and freedom, messy and loud and entirely, beautifully ours. If you made it this far, I gotta know. Whose side are you on? The creative rebel or the HOA rulebook warriors? Ever fought an HOA? What did they try to ban at your place? And be honest, would you live next to a ski fence? Drop your chaos stories in the comments. And hit subscribe if you believe petty revenge is an art form worth protecting. Because in this neighborhood, we don't do beige. We ski uphill.